In this lesson, titled Adjusting Column Width and Row Height, we're in Workbook Lesson 04, Format Data, and in Worksheet tab, Columns and Rows. It's been alluded to several times in previous lessons, the fact that you can adjust your column width and row height. In this lesson, we're going to go into the details of how you do that. The most basic way to make adjustments is to simply put your cursor between two columns or between two rows, and the cursor will change to what you see here, and that's a two-way arrow. In this case, it's pointed left and right. When you see that cursor, you can simply click and drag, and as you drag, you'll see a tooltip that tells you the actual width and that width in pixels. This might not be very useful. I don't think there's too many people who say I need 179 pixels. But you can just take a look at it and see what the height that you really want. Let's try that over here for a row as well. We'll drag that down, and you can see we get a nice thick row. And you can see several reasons why you might want to make these adjustments. Well, the question always comes up. I can adjust this kind of by eye, but it's not exactly what I want, and I want it to kind of look like all the others. Well, the secret is that Excel will do it automatically for you with something called Best Fit. And Best Fit works like this. You simply go to the right side of the column that you want to adjust with Best Fit. You get your two-way arrow and you just double click. And when you double click, you'll see that this E column has adjusted exactly to the widest item, which in this case is the word base salary. Let's try that over here. We're going to put the cursor, in this case, just below the row that we want to best fit, and we double click. So let's take a look at some shortcuts here, shall we? Let's say we have something like this where everything is not quite ideal, and I'm going to introduce a new idea to you. I'm going to make this one too skinny, and look at the numbers here. They suddenly turned into what looks like railroad tracks. These are actually pound signs or number signs. And Excel, rather interestingly, has decided that it doesn't want to show you a partial number. So it would rather show you nothing than show you a partial number. Kind of makes sense because you wouldn't want to accidentally think that's the real number and you were going on that data when you were missing part of the number. Now that's not so much true for words. It can actually cut those off and it's okay with that. Like here we see B-O-N-U, but the numbers, it doesn't show us at all. So we moved all of these around, so none of them are really as well as we would like. Now we could go to each one and double click, double click, double click. But there's a much faster way of doing that. And I'm going to make a row really wide as well to show that it works on rows as well as columns. There's something over here called Select All. So it's this little gray arrow all the way over here to the left and just below our name box. Here's our name box. And it's simply called the Select All. And I click on it. It not only selects everything out here, so all my rows and all my columns, so that I could make any changes I want to everything, like for instance change the font of everything. But interestingly, it also selected all of my headers for my columns and all of my headers for all of my rows. So now all I have to do is double click between any of them and it will correct all of them. So I'm just going to go anywhere. How about right here between D and E, double click, and it corrected all of those. Now I can come over here to my rows. I can come to any row, double click, and it corrects all of them. Now, what if I only had just a few to fix, like just these two right here? Then I could select just those two by dragging over the column headers and then double clicking. Now every once in a while someone makes the mistake and they kind of forget and they think that to correct these two that they could just drag here and then double click, right? That would only correct one of them because it's just correcting whatever column is to the right. It didn't get this one. If you want to select them all or several of them, you have to drag in the headers for the columns or the headers here for the rows. and then you can double click. That's called Best Fit, and it's your best friend because it solves a lot of problems really fast. And we also talked about the Select All button, which is very handy when we want to best fit everything on that worksheet.